a room in another apartment. Before I begin, I want to thank everyone who watches, listens, and supports me. If my dreams and reflections resonate with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions in the comments after listening. It's very important for me to feel that you are near. And now, to the dream. Yesterday, I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Everything was calm, just an ordinary evening, books, a bit of music. But inside, something was scratching, not anxiety, not fear, just a feeling. As if an unfinished knot remained between the previous dreams. Reading my notes, I remembered the girl from the labyrinth. Light in her eyes, a crystal city. I had the feeling that I was missing something important, as if part of the path was cut off, and I just couldn't find where it continued. It wouldn't let me rest. I finally fell asleep closer to morning, and, as often happens at such times, the dream turned out to be especially vivid. I dreamed that I was in an apartment that seemed to be mine, but at the same time felt completely unfamiliar. There was nothing unsettling about it. Everything looked cozy. Wooden floors, old bookshelves, bright windows. But I knew this apartment wasn't mine. Or more precisely, it used to be, but a long time ago. It was as if I had returned to a place where I once lived, but had already forgotten about it. I wandered through the rooms, recognizing objects I couldn't remember. I opened closets, found someone else's clothes, examined photographs. There were unfamiliar faces in them, but something seemed to click inside me. As if I remembered that I once knew them, but had long since erased it from my memory. In one of the rooms there was a mirror. I walked up to it, and that's when the dream changed. In the reflection, it was the same room, but someone was sitting there, a man, in an armchair, with his back to me. He was reading a book. I tapped on the glass, but he didn't turn around. So I looked from the side and realized it was me, only a bit younger. His face was calm, absorbed in reading. He looked up and gazed straight into my eyes. Through the mirror, his gaze was calm, yet piercing, as if he could see right through me, down to the thoughts I didn't dare admit, even to myself. And then he said, "You haven't come in a long time. There's a part of you left here, the part you abandoned when you decided to be only an adult." I froze, not knowing what to say. I wanted to ask what he meant, but the words wouldn't come. It felt like if I asked a question, he would simply disappear, and that's exactly what happened. The next second, the reflection became ordinary. There was no one in the chair. I left the room and noticed that the door to the hallway was slightly open. A staircase began behind it. I went down and found myself back in my apartment. Everything looked just as I had left it. In the kitchen, the nightlight was flickering, casting a soft yellow glow on the floor and walls. There was a cup in the sink, as if I really had gotten up in the night to get a drink of water and put it back, forgetting about it. On the stove, the kettle was quietly cooling down, with a thin wisp of steam still rising from it. The smell of metal, slightly burnt plastic, and something sweet maybe yesterday's tea hung in the air. The clock on the wall was ticking especially loudly, and the whole scene felt both real and otherworldly, as if I had returned not just to the room, but to a version of myself I had once left behind here. Suddenly, the thought flashed through my mind maybe I hadn't woken up at all. My heart started pounding not from fear, but from the strange duality of what was happening. The air felt dense, almost viscous, as if the world around me was woven from a dream that hadn't yet dissipated. I ran my hand over my face and felt a damp coolness under my fingers, as if my skin still remembered the touch of the dream. And then, when I truly woke up, toward morning, everything in reality fell into place. The sheet was crumpled. My body seemed to be sinking into the mattress, but the room was cool and quiet. I realized that now I was truly awake. My first thought was, I had never actually lived in that apartment, and immediately there was a strange feeling, as if something had returned. Not a memory, but a mood, a state, some former quality that I had once lost. Something like a childlike lightness, the ability to be myself without looking over my shoulder, without an inner commentator, without expectations. A simple naturalness with which I once just lived, read, dreamed, without analyzing every step. I wrote down this dream right away, almost without opening my eyes. It wasn't frightening, nor sad, just very personal. And even now, as I write these lines, it feels like things have grown a little quieter inside, as if someone I lost long ago has sat down next to me again and is reading a book, silently, with me. This dream is a profound return to forgotten parts of myself, especially to the inner, youthful, feeling self that was left behind in the past for the sake of adulthood, responsibilities, tasks, real life. The dream speaks quietly, but very precisely. You have not lost yourself, you just left, forgetting that someone stayed behind, waiting in that very room. It wasn't just a dream about space. It was a dream about myself, left behind in time. The apartment I found myself in was both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. It was like entering the past not through memory, but through presence. I knew I had lived here once, in some other state, before I became who I am now. I walked through the rooms and felt a strange clicking inside. Objects, faces in photographs, the smell of old books, all of it resonated within me, as if I wasn't remembering but recognizing. It wasn't a memory. It was an encounter with a self I hadn't noticed for decades. And then the mirror. And him. I'm just younger. Not a boy, not a teenager. The me who hadn't yet forgotten how to feel fullness, curiosity, depth. He wasn't frightening, he simply was. Whole, calm, knowing. When he looked at me, I realized he remembers me better than I remember him. And he said, "You haven't come here in a long time. There's a part of you left here, the part you abandoned when you decided to be only an adult." That phrase was like a key. I really did decide to be only an adult, rational, responsible, composed. And in making that decision, I left behind someone very important, myself. The one who knew how to be alive, without a function, without a purpose. And when he disappeared, not because I turned away, but because I didn't have time to say anything, I felt something begin to return. I went down the stairs and found myself back at home. Only now, this home was more than just an apartment. It was the space of my present, in which the memory of what was forgotten still lingered. The little things, a cup in the sink, a warm kettle, a nightlight, the ticking of the clock, all of it felt strangely real. But not just real, piercingly precise. It was a dream about returning to myself, to that very point where I once decided, now I am an adult, and walked past. Now I have returned, not completely, but I have taken a step, and that step left a mark. Even after waking up, I could feel it, in the air, on my skin, in my heart, like the moisture of a dream that has not yet evaporated. The apartment is an image of inner space, a home within. I return to a forgotten version of myself, where something important still lives. Photographs, objects, they are not psychological memory, not rational but living. They are not from the past, they are from a part of me I have not visited. The young me in the mirror is a part of my personality that did not disappear, but stayed and waited. It does not accuse, it remembers. The phrase I said is a direct message from the unconscious. I did not leave a place, but a part of myself. Once again I found myself in my apartment. This is a symbol of moving from memory into the present, but now enriched by the experience of the encounter. The density of the air, the viscosity of reality, the sense of a fine line between dream and wakefulness, between different layers of perceptional, this speaks to a heightened sensitivity and depth of perception of reality that are now active. This dream does not demand a solution, it invites presence. It doesn't call for any changes, it simply shows that I live next to a forgotten part of myself. And it is still waiting, still calm, and still knows how to truly feel. I have already returned there. All that's left is not to leave again. If you enjoyed this story, feel free to hit the bell and subscribe so you don't miss new dreams and reflections. And in the comments, share your own dreams and memories. Have you ever felt like you lost a part of yourself? When did it happen? And what exactly disappeared at that moment? And how did you find it if you managed to return to yourself? It would mean a lot to me to read your stories and reflect together.